to each and every one of you guys. If this is your first time joining my stream, my name is Chief Apostle Samuel Yeager Jr. I am the apostle and pastor of Apostolic Faith of Jesus Christ Incorporated, and my beliefs are deeply rooted in the ATRs. The ATRs are the African traditional religions by which we harness, disperse, and energize these practices. I want to say to each and every one of you guys, thank you so much for your continued support. I want to say also first salutations to my madrina, to my padrino, to my oba, and to all of my brothers and sisters in Ifa, Voodoo, Santeria, Lakumi, Palo. What's up there? Salutations, Jeremy. And to each and every one of you guys that are melanated, that are in the United States. This is Sun Energy. This is ruled by Leo, and Leo rules the heart. To each and every one of you guys, thank you so much. What's up, my Boaz? This is going to be a really, really good live for those that have tools, those that have certain things that they're waiting on to manifest. Thank you for hitting that like button as you come in. I want to say also hello and salutations to my Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Aquarius, Cancer, Capricorn, Leo, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra, and Virgo. One of the things that I like to do in my teachings and when I share things, and I tell people oftentimes, I do not teach my personal beliefs or my personal practices because I teach universal laws. A lot of times people do not consider their measure. They don't consider where they are economically, where they are when it comes to forms of education. My kids do practice the ATRs. And just to add on that, that is not something that I forced upon my children. I have this notion that this is a personal journey, and you can be educated about the ATRs. You can be educated about anything in life. Being forced to do something diminishes the relationship that one would need to have with ancestors. That's why it's important. Why I constantly tell people about self-hatred in the ATRs. And what I mean by self-hatred, a lot of the ATRs are have the imageries of melanated people or black people, depending on the ATR that you're practicing. But most of them are rooted in African ancestries. And if you already have a problem with your melanin, you already have a problem with the propaganda that has come out concerning the ATRs, whether it's Ifa, Voodoo, Santeria, Lakumi. If you ain't practicing Christianity, and even in that, I've been in the church world since I was a child. Have my own ministry since 2001. I've been in ministry since I was 19 years of age. And even in that, whether it's AME Church, whether it's Kojic, whether it's Baptist, whether it's Lutheran, whether it's Seventh-day Adventist, you pick your denomination. Nobody believes the same way about the same God. Everybody professing the same way. Everybody has different experiences with energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's something that's even in the context of Christianity. Even though Christianity derives its origin out of Kemet, which is Egyptology. And a lot of times, in order for you to actually benefit from a said religion, a said system, you have to understand where that thing comes from and where the basis of it derives from. And I want to share some things that will help people. What's up, my Calvina, my Cancer in the house? What do you think about white people trying to practice the ATIs. I wonder what ancestor would be they be calling. They have to call on their own ancestors. But people do attempt, like Paula White attempted to call upon the spirits of Africa. Let me explain something. And you have to remember that you have white people in Africa, in the continent of Africa, because there are many countries in Africa. But the continent of that massive land has many type of people. Not only melanated people, but also white people. That's why most of them are South Africans. So any form of magic has to start with self. I don't care what it is. That's why everyone and every person has energy. You might not have the measure of energy, frequency, or vibration that somebody else may have, but we all have energy. And how we utilize that energy based off of the principles or the systems by which we utilize. I will say this. I don't discourage white people, even though my platform is for melanated people. I don't police the ATRs. I know what I'm not gonna do. That's all I can speak for. But when somebody shows up to the ancestors and they don't detect the bloodline, I'm gonna give you about my oldest son. When my oldest son was born, I was very, very young, very immature. So I want to start there. But the point is, I was denying him because I was denying his mom. I didn't want people to know that I was actually dealing with her. And she did something that if my child was not my child, she went to one of my ancestors' graves. Young as she was, she took him out there to my grandmother, which would be his great grandmother's grave. Spirits know who their ancestors are or who their descendants are. So it doesn't matter who may gain information from various of sources, whether it's hoodoo or voodoo or Santeria or Lakumi. If your ancestors or the ancestors of that particular tradition do not recognize the bloodline or the covenant, because a lot of us that got initiated had to initiate our blood. So if you don't have those acknowledgments from those spirits, whether it's Gabriel, Michael, Uriah, being a child of a different tribe, this is where black people have the disadvantage. Black American people, not really knowing their origin, not really knowing their lineage, and it complicates things when it comes down to doing magic, because a lot of them do not take our time to understand their energy, their frequency, their vibration. They don't understand landmass, tribes. Say, for instance, just for knowledge sake, say that you are getting into spirituality and you get into conjure, but you really come from the tribe of the Levites, which are a priestly people. You understand? Your magic gonna work different. Versus you come from the tribe of Dan or Benjamin or the tribe of Ephraim. That set of that tribe practiced their energy, their magic differently, even though they were calling on the same deity, even though they were calling upon the same power. One thing that I love about the HR that I have gotten involved in and what I aspire to get involved in, I like nature-based magic. I like any system that teaches you the ecosystem of nature, because I personally believe I am the microcosm or the mini version of the universe. Everything that is in the universe is also comprised into my mortal body. And so I that's why I don't teach my personal beliefs, because if you have not arrived in that mental state, if you have not arrived in that emotional state, if you have not had those experiences, it's going to be very hard for you to trust and to what I'm saying, and allow the processes that come along with each system. Um, White people cannot use our ancestors against us. White people have a system that they have built over decades, centuries, and allow them to have certain advantages, which we see that crumbling as we speak. But the point is, real magic comes from a natural place. If you don't have melanin, if you don't have carbon, if you don't have dark matter, then how can you relate to not only Mother Nature, but even the universe, or calling upon celestial beings, if you don't have the assets? You can call Michael all day long. Don't mean Michael coming. If you lucky, you may get a representation of Michael, one of his troops under him, because there were people fail to realize, whether it's Orishas, whether it's Impungos, whether it's Loas, those spirits, those entities have other spirits serving up under them, and you might get a visitation from one of those spirits, but those generals, so to speak, you're not in company with them. That takes a lot of growth, development, and they have to honor you like that. And this is what black people don't like. Just because you melanated don't give you access to the higher realms. You have to be born. You have to be chosen. You have to be picked out. This is actually perfect for Sunday, because it's Sunday. Sun energy covers achievements, and I want to talk about something that will help you if you are going through it, and because of what this country is going through, you're going to experience some of this, and certain information is really going to help you. And if you get more prepared, you will be able to weather certain storms. We all gonna go through it. When you on the boat and you at a certain place, you're gonna be affected. When California has an earthquake, even though we don't feel the tremors, the fact that certain earth has moved and shifted, it still affects us. A lot of people don't realize, because they're not taught to, and then they don't see the connectivity in themselves. If you ever got acupuncture, or you studied it, they understand the meridians, that to heal a headache, you might have to go through the foot or the elbow, because they realize that it's all connected. There's a wiring of your soul and your spirit and your energy. And the more you understand that, is the more effective you can be at resolving issues and situations. I want to, my title on this Sunday, I want to talk about, the subject is rebuilding of body, mind, and soul, or spirit. And I was thinking of, because I always like to teach from example. I like to share what I know. I don't like teaching things or explaining stuff that I haven't experienced. A lot of people do not mind speaking on things that they're not proficient in or skillful in. I do. That's the point of me being a Sagittarius. My moon is in Aries, my rising sign Pisces. Jupiter allows us to have adventures. Adventures bring on experience, and experience bring on wisdom or insight. Because I have engaged. I didn't speak on Apollo or Ocha because I wasn't involved into it like that. Now that I'm in it, I can speak on those things from experience. I can speak on those things from my encounters. I can speak on the structural system of that particular magical system. And I also can speak on the levels and the growth that one may go through. And this is why I don't believe in comparing myself. Thank you for hitting that like button and those shares. Let me explain something to you. Even though we are reflections of one another, your destiny matters. Your ancestral court matters. When I was talking about rebuilding of the body, the mind, and the soul, is because when you go through things in life, I'm 53. I've been doing magic since I was a child. The reason why that's important, because at some point you're gonna have to rebuild. You might spend a majority of your life building something, and then that thing comes under attack, or something happens with you. In my case, things start happening with me. Not the attack, or people wishing this negativity towards me. That's not what happened. I had hereditary things start taking place, and it caused me to decline for a season, and that affected what I have built. When you go through something, whether people explain this to you or not, and it really, to be honest with you, I'm gonna say it don't matter how you went through it in one aspect, because when you go through things, it changes you. Now, how you go through it determines where you're gonna be at mentally with it, emotionally with it, and physically with it. What I mean by that, if you get involved into the ATRs and you don't realize how taxing it is on the body, the mind, and the soul, then you're going to experience certain negativity. What's up, Aries from Texas? How you doing? So when you going through things and you experiencing things, and you experiencing certain hardships, it's going to be important to you, depending on how you go through it, is how you're going to respond. I wrote down here, pay attention to how something or someone is built. Pay attention to how something is built, whether it's a relationship, romantically, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a business in general, or the family structure. How was it built? Was it built with a lot of illegitimate children? People marrying, being in relationships, we cousins, but mama or daddy had children from other men and women. It matters. And it also matters how your ancestors behave. Because you may be a part of a family system or a set of ancestors, but because how you came into it or birthed into that ancestral system, you may be disliked or honored. We done heard this for so long. Favor ain't fair. When you pay attention to how things are built, then when you have to rebuild your own family, your own business, your own relationship, you have some type of template or some type of example, even though you may not do what they do with that information. But the point is, you got to have some type of idea how to fashion your own family system. Everybody think they right in their own eyes. I don't care who. I don't care if you young, old. I don't care if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. I don't care if you just on the sideline. Your brain or your mind processes based off of what you know or what you experience and what kind of information you have. A lot of times, in order for me to rebuild, I had to challenge what I believed in. I had to challenge things that I trusted in. I had to challenge the way that I was utilizing my body. I'm gonna tell you something, and I've said this before. One of the problems that when I was going through my initiation and my ceremonies, I did not consider at all. I'm not talking about consider a little bit. I didn't consider at all of the strain that it was going to put on my physical body. I was looking from the aspect of being prepared because I knew what certain things were going to come down the pike. Thank you for hitting that like button. When you growing in life, and everybody find themselves in those situations where they feel like they got to do what they got to do. But consider, even when you're doing what you got to do, it's going to affect your body, it's going to affect your mind, and it's going to affect your soul. I don't care if you're doing hoodoo, I don't care if you're doing voodoo, I don't care if you're doing Santeria, I don't care if you are practicing Catholicism. It don't matter. Ifa, voodoo, Santeria, Lukumi, it don't matter. You are still the common denominator in every equation. And that's from one relationship or one interaction, because a lot of times we mention the word relationship and people don't define relationship the same way. So I'm going to say from every interaction that you've had, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or sexually, you're picking up experiences. And sometimes when you get to a certain place in your life, you got to rebuild. You got to rebuild your body, because a lot of times, especially in my situation, I wasn't intaking enough water. I wasn't. Yeah, I was a UPS driver for 30 years, and I've never really fancied water, H2O, and I would drink liquids, but I did not hydrate with water. I even tried the coconut water. I tried sparkling water, just ion water, until I got in my 50s. I have been more consistent with my body when it comes to hydration of water, hydrogenated water, than I ever been. Because in order to rebuild my life, to rebuild what I'm trying to build off of, I have to take care of those three parts: my body, my mind, and my soul. Sometimes you're doing what's good for the soul, and the Bible says it like this: I wish above that ye prosper, even as your soul prosper. A lot of times our life is not lining up with the prosperity of the spirit or the soul. And that's because a lot of times we have not taken care of our temple. Now, newsflash to anybody that want to get into magic. Everybody gonna pass away, whether it's now or later. You're born to die. You're born to live in a certain time frame. Your energy, your soul is eternal. I'm gonna say it again. Your energy, your soul is eternal. That's why it matters what you get involved with, or what kind of works you do or rituals you do, because that's eternal. That's going to be a part of your spiritual makeup. It's going to be a part of the things that you're going to experience, even when you sometimes reincarnate. All this stuff is important. Now, I'm going to be coming from Amos, the 9th chapter, 14th through the 15th verse. And it says, I will, talking about the Lord, I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they shall build the waste places, those places that in your life that has been devastated or ruined. The cities, because we a city set upon a hill that can't be hid. What's up there, my Boaz? And so it goes on to say, inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink wine thereof. And they shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. Now, before I go to verse 15, and this includes me, and I give an example about my bicycle. I've never been a person that was mechanical. I can do a little something, but not nothing grand. So I ended up getting an electric bike. And so it had to be assembled. My point is, in this aspect, even when you're going through and you learning how to get through, you have to pay attention to what you are doing to get through. Let me say that again. If you plant a seed and you fertilizing the ground, you got to remember the same formula that you utilize to get a good harvest. A lot of time people out here doing things to get money, to get attention, to get love, to get opportunity. They're not really paying attention to how and what they're doing to actually manifest that, or to actually overcome that. All they know is they were healed. All they know, because let me tell y'all something, and I'm not against, I have a personal issue with the medical system over here in the Western world, because, and I'm just explaining, because they don't believe in cures. They believe in maintaining your sickness or your disease. Thank you for joining us. I believe God gives, and Mother Earth gives, an ability to resolve issues. Heal the sick, raise the dead. I believe in all that. I structure my whole mental capacity revolving around that. Some people don't survive poverty. They learn how to maintain themselves in poverty. Some people accidentally find themselves in abundance, but they don't know how they got there. And when you don't know how you got into a space, you can't do what you need to do to stay in that space. This is why I'm saying pay attention. Don't just be living. Don't just be experiencing, but pay attention to what you were doing in order to overcome. What were you utilizing? What was your state of mind? Too many people are just reactive. I believe in being proactive. That's with my candle work. That's with my incense. That's with my rituals, whether it's at the ocean, whether it's at the cemetery or the crossroad. That's what I have in common with all these ATRs. I understand how I got there. I also understand what I was not doing that I could have made it better for myself. I'm 53 years old. You only have 4 seasons. I don't care where you at on the planet. You only have 4 seasons. To master those seasons and those terms of those seasons It's for your benefit. A lot of people think I get on social media to change people's mind. That is not my job. My job is to present the people with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. What you do with it, sir, if I present my website, I present my products, my services, but I don't force nobody to do it. Let me tell you something about people that want to experience a better life. They're going to be attracted to people that know how to acquire. They're going to be attracted to people that have know-how. They're going to be attracted to, because sometimes people tell you, oh, those people that, because I'm a Sagittarian, I believe in dressing to impress. I believe in representing whatever I'm doing. If I'm operating in my reaches, I dress for that. If I live in Florida, and I live in South Florida, so we mostly have hot days. Rain here, there, but typically it's called the Sunshine State for a reason. But so my attire represents my location. If I was living up north, yes, I'm a Sagittarius, but I would accommodate my environment. If you are learning and you're experiencing things and you're seeing things that you have built need to be rebuilt or restructured or revised, that's important for you to understand what it took for you to get it. Now, verse 15, it said, the Lord said this, and I will plant them upon their land, and they shall be no more pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord. Now, let me say this. The reason why we have all the confusion about where we come from is because the people that capture you, the people that oppress you, the people that have systematically put misinformation out there for you to get. Because when you don't know how to connect with your land, if you in certain areas, you learn to connect with the spirits of that land. This is why we have this concept we call deja vu. That you know physically you have never been there, but you feel like you already been there at one time of life of your existence. And therefore you have a certain familiarity to that particular place, that particular spot, particular location. Being able to connect with the spirits of the land that you actually originated from is a powerful thing, because that's natural to you. From the earth we come, the earth we return. Even if you are in lands or in territories that you are not familiar with or you're just visiting, there's always spirits that govern that particular land. When I do work outside of my area, I'm always communicating with the spirits of that particular land, getting permission to work that land. I'm going to say this again. Every landmass has guardian spirits. I don't care if you're in Ifa, Voodoo, Santeria, Lukumi, Congo. Every landmass has certain trees that grow in that forest. Whether it's a rainforest, evergreen plants, or trees, or trees of Lebanon, or if you're in more of a desert place, there's certain type of plants that grow in that area that you are connected to. That's why certain people work better with certain herbs than other people. And that has to do with their connectivity to that a certain landmass or what type of vegetation that grew on that particular land. But in this particular scripture, God said, when I bring you back to your land, you won't be plucked up or pulled out of that land. anymore. Melanated people, wherever our perceived origin comes from. This is why no matter how much they tell you to go back to Africa or go back to continent, if you are connected to this particular Americas before all the name changes, it ain't going to be right for black people until the Messiah comes back. The concept of a Messiah, and this is for educational purpose only. Messiah is a title. It's an anointed one. It's an enlightenment one. And the problem with that concept is that black people are always looking for somebody to save them. This is why Yahshua, the Emmanuel, the projected Messiah, told us that the kingdom of God is within. We save ourselves. This is why we use the terminology resonate. Because if you're not in a certain place, mind, mentally, or emotionally, you're not going to receive information, which information is enlightenment. No man knows the hour. Because I personally don't believe in that concept. Just like those that work with the Orishas. You think Orisha gonna save you. Those that work with angels, they think the angels are gonna save them. There are certain things that we have to do to create the reality. We are in the earth realm. Certain energies, frequency control this realm. And you can live and believe in a delusion all you want. You can spend all your lifetime looking for somebody to bail you out of something. We have enlightened people with information or spiritual revelation that arise at certain times, and we become a shining star, a beacon of light, an informed vessel. But that doesn't mean that people are going to resonate with it. John the Baptist in the story of the Bible baptized Yahshua, the Emmanuel, the one that the Father spoke out of heaven in that parable of that story. And yet, down the road, sent his disciples, or the people that follow him, that learn from him through the water element, to ask Christ that baptized in fire, was he actually the Messiah? The Messiah is just like the word God or Lord. It's a title. Anybody, male or female, can wear that title. The reason why a lot of people get confused with feminine energy, because feminine energy can wear the term or Lord or God. We don't address it as goddess, but the principle of energy, frequency, and vibration is masculine energy and feminine energy and organ energy. So any of those entities could possess any of those qualities or those type of titles, depending on who they are. So these concepts, you got to remember, you ain't got to do nothing but say black and die. Understanding what's a title versus what is the essence. What's up, my Ryan, my Libra in the house? To understand how to rebuild your body, your mind, and your soul, you got to understand what you are attaching yourself to, what type of information that you're getting, what type of interaction that you are having. Because these things will either help you rebuild or prohibit you from rebuilding your own reality. There are certain things that I'm doing health wise to rebuild my body. There are certain things that I'm doing mentally for its information to rebuild my mind. What was proficient for you to get through yesterday may not be proficient for you to get through today. When you don't grow, you don't develop, you don't acquire more tools, more possibilities, then this is why you find your. Let me tell y'all something. I'm gonna be 1,000 about it. If you believe that white supremacy is declining the system, then you also know that you have to adjust to not having the system. So whatever you paid into the system, they go up in smoke. I'm gonna say it again. You don't watch the other end of the boat strike a glacier and not thinking it's going to affect the hind part of the boat. You melanated. You are part of this ecosystem. And if you're in the United States, what this man and this administration is doing and how it's interacting with other countries and other energies is important. Why we don't think that what other people do or don't do affect us, I don't understand. Especially if you're in business. Your personal beliefs, if you want to be successful, need to be kept out your business. Unless you're doing spiritual work like I do. But if you running a car wash, whether you a Muslim, whether you initiated, non-initiated, whether you're a Christian, you giving a service to people, customers. And customers have all type of beliefs. Some beliefs you agree with and some things you don't agree with. That's how you build and how you rebuild. And one day I said, I knew that when I started this lives and this platform, I knew I was going to teach melanated people. I knew in teaching melanated people that all melanated people was not going to receive. I knew by me being in the church that people would have a problem with me vocalizing the ATRs. They would have a problem with me explaining the connectivity of the Bible to the ATRs. I knew that. I knew some people would appreciate it, would love the fact because they saw the relationship between the Bible and conjure and mysticism and magic. Everybody don't call it magic or conjure. They call it prayer. They may be doing the exact same thing that a conjurer is doing, a root worker is doing, a mystic is doing, a yami is doing. But because they don't call it that, they would separate themselves from that. You got to realize in depending on where you headed. I know where I'm headed. I understand that it takes commitment. This is why I pay attention. I watch. I watch who's attracted to what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I watch who's not. And I don't force people. Just like they asked me a question earlier about my children. This is a personal journey. The reason why I speak so boldly against speaking against the church, because church is up under Sagittarius. It's the only entity that can expand to deal with the masses. When all these other ATRs are like different gym equipment in the gym. They work on certain things, even though they all relate to building your body or rebuilding your body. Let me tell y'all something. What I learned, and even rebuilding my body, because I was always active in my life, from sports, and from my job, my occupation as a UPS driver. I was always physically functioning. And so when I had to rebuild my body because of what I went through, I understood that muscles carry memory. Listen at me. This is why you have to be careful, because your body is made of 70 to 75% of water. And this is why it's important, because water carries memory. Muscles have water in it. They carry memory. And that's something you have to understand. If you've been good to your body, this is why certain type of relationship gonna keep you in a fit, because if you're used to chaos or you used to betrayal, that's memory, that's consciousness. And when you're trying to rebuild, those things are part of those fragments of your life. This is why I say to people, you have to know when it's time for you to renew your mind. Nobody can make you, I don't care how great of a teacher I am or other people are in particular practices. You have to be open-minded. I'm a Sagittarius, so we think on a higher mindset. And so it don't matter where a Sagittarian is in life, they're going to always think big. I try to encourage people. When you don't understand or care to know how something or someone is built, you won't recognize what destroys or breaks something or someone. I'm going to say that again. When you don't understand or you don't care to know how something or someone is built, how it was constructed, you won't recognize or be aware of what destroys or ruins or breaks something or someone. This is why when you know yourself, you know what you can be involved in and you know what you can't be involved. So I'm using myself as an example. I am a Sagittarius. I'm a more of a positive mindset. I deal with negativity or negative aspects, but I don't let it hinder me from my growth. I know that certain people are so use an example. It's always a what if. What if this happened and what that happened? I don't thrive in situations or around mindsets like that. People that are fear-based, I don't thrive in that type of environment. Even though fear can drive certain people to do what they need to do, but I'm a person that don't work with me. I don't constitute it. I got enough wisdom to have a certain reverence for things. But as me as an individual, I don't thrive in that. When it comes to my magic, when it comes to my conjure, I'm very optimistic. And I build my optimistic based off facts and structure. A lot of time people have certain beliefs that they build up. It's based on what they heard. They have never tested. It has never been up on a test. I'm gonna explain this. When you live in a capitalist society and you really don't know how capital works, and you're not trying to understand how it works, then how do you really thrive? If you want to be in a relationship and you don't understand or care to understand how things relate, then how you going to really thrive in relationships? If you are a person that wants to utilize magic or energy, frequency, or vibration to manifest, and you really don't care or don't understand how energy, frequency, and vibration works, it doesn't matter what tradition you in, who you hang around. You cannot thrive in something that you don't understand. You can benefit, but you not thrive. Because with understanding, you know why and what makes or breaks your manifestation. All right, got you. Let me say this again. Rebuilding your body, your mind, and your soul is going to come into play in certain phases of your life. Restructuring things, reassessing things, revising things. And that doesn't mean you're going to go out of Christianity into Ifa or voodoo. You can revise right where you at. You can rebuild right where you at. You have to know. Thank you so much for the love. You have to know what you are aspiring to. You got to know why certain things are necessary. This sun energy on today is for you to rebuild yourself. Recharge yourself. Many people will tell you in different walks of life that going out and getting in the sun and allowing the sun rays as a melanated person, the same way that plants reach out to the sun, and for the purpose of why they reach out to the sun, is the same reason why your personal organism or your personal tabernacle or your personal temple, your body, has a need for sun. Whether you get a more sun than most people, there's certain plants that needs to be in direct contact with the sun, and there are other plants that need to be in the vicinity but not direct contact because they will burn. Everybody's system is not built the same way, and everybody's energy is not built the same way. And some people can embrace raw dark matter, carbon energy, universal energy directly, and some people have to accept that indirectly through other vessels or other systems that can break down that energy. It's almost like a baby system. The reason why we break the food down is because their system is not strong enough to break that food down, a certain type of meats or vegetables. So it's given to them in a form of a sauce in order for them, their system, their particular system. When you're a babe in something, when you're young or naive into something, you're a novelist into something, it is good to take the sincere milk of the word, or what has been already broken down, before you try to get into the mysteries of your particular ATR, before you try to get into the hierarchy of your particular ATR. Because you're going to have to be able to digest that information mentally, emotionally, and physically. And sometimes your inability to digest causes discomfort. Doesn't mean you've been food poisoned. Doesn't mean you were given the wrong information. But your system, your mental system, your emotional system, your physical system has not got to the place where you can digest certain things. And you need to know that's okay. Everybody is not on certain levels that they can receive information. It's like people that even a Sagittarius has to learn how to manage freedom. A lot of times people don't understand. It's just like when people go out and try to do a regime change. A lot of times when you remove the structure and people have to do for themselves, that's why chaos erupts. It matters. It's like America is doing what we all live through in some form of fashion. When somebody is in their house trying to run somebody else's house. It's not going to end well. You are here to run your house, your commodity, your temple, your energy, your frequency, your vibration. Whether somebody accepts what you are teaching or you're selling or obtain the services that you have or not, that doesn't mean that you're not who you are supposed to be. But you need to understand that in order to keep moving in and forward in your life, you're gonna have to pay attention to how you build, and you got to pay attention so you know what to rebuild, restructure, so you can endure hardness as a good soldier, that you can last through your adversities, that you can maintain through your seasons of temporal conditions that you're going through. One of the things that I have been doing, and I just got back, is my bicycle, building of my mobility. This is important. When you want to attack a thing, you got to know where you are in your body. You need to know where you are in your mind, and you need to know where you are in your soul. And are all those three aspects of self in on one accord? Never. Let me take that back. I wouldn't advise you, if you know that you're not all together in your person, then you shouldn't be going off on new adventures or new endeavors without having yourself together, because it's going to take all of you to get that done. Your mind, your body, and your soul. Okay? Thank you for spending some time with me on this Sunday. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you have not visited my website, do so. It's in my bio. I am also on other social media platforms like TikTok, Twitter. I'm not so much on Twitter. I am on Instagram. So I do have a Patreon. To each and every one of you guys, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of this educational purposes. Being a part of my particular platform and the style that I teach. And I've said I have so much gratitude that I don't have to be something else in order to draw people. I don't have to pretend to have a certain personality that ain't really me. I can be my authentic self and still prosper and actually grow and develop on my social media platform. To each and every one of you guys, thank you so much. Thank you as well, my Boaz, that have seen. And one thing I want to say this before I go. I know you hear me talk about me being transparent, but you have to be real and true to yourself to walk that walk of being transparent with people. Because when you allow people to see into certain parts of your life or your experiences, people will process those experiences not based off what you say, but what they perceive it to be. And that can be very tricky. It can be very complicated. So even when I say that I do that because I am authentically who I say I am. And I want other people to know maybe you're not at a place that you can let people in like that. Don't do things because you see other people do them. Because they're consequent. When you live your life out loud on social media, there's consequences for that. There's some pros and there's some cons. And everything is not for social media. Everything is not for the eyes of the people. No master tells or teaches all they know. That's a common truth in every aspect of magic. And that's something that you need to understand. People have to trust you. And you have to build that trust. And you have to show growth and commitment in these ATRs. And that's just all it is. And being prepared for what's going on in America, because racism is not something new. Division is not something new. Being prepared for the chaos that people create because they don't understand or don't care to understand. Either way, it's chaos. And when you are here in these Americas, you're going to have to contend with whatever is being done and the aftermath of what has been done. It's no different. You can stop seeing somebody, doesn't mean that once you stop seeing them that you're not affected from what you've been through with that person. And that's just the way it is. All right. So thank you so much. My name is Chief Apostle Samuel Eder Jr. And I want to say to each and every one of you, comment and share these lives. God bless.